Welcome to Mixed Messages, a show where each episode we discuss someone's personal mixed race experience. I am your mixed race host, Sarah Donahue. Now, please join me in giving my special guest a very, 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 very warm welcome, Dr. Jarryd Willis. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Let's get it going.
Yeah.
I have to ask, what are you?
So I am Native American, Cherokee, partially on both sides of my parents' families. Also Black, also African American. On my dad's side, I'm also partially European American. But my largest, let's say, mixed portion is Native American on both parent sides. My mom, in particular. My dad's more European than Native American, interestingly. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Now, I've checked myself before on this show, and I'm going to check myself again. When I started this show, I was thinking, what's something mixed race people are always asked? But let's
What
be real,
are you?
a bunch of us aren't asked that at all. So I want to know, are you ever asked that?
I'm almost never asked a question like, "What are you?" That's something I've very rarely experienced. My little brother had experienced that question, quite a
Uh-huh.
bit. Phenotypically, he's like of a lighter skin tone, and so his mixedness is more apparent.
You identify as mixed.
And mostly on surveys and stuff, like my top answer is usually Black, and then
Mm.
sometimes I'll say mixed. The one thing I've like never done before is just like put Native American by itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll put Black by itself, but never Native American by itself, or mixed by itself as well. So it's like I think the proportion of the identity is like what holds me back from like just using it as a single response thing.
What do you mean by proportion of identity?
I'm around like 9 to 10% Native American, and then like less so European, like 5% roughly or so. So I mean, I am majority African American.
Yeah.
Like my mom is like the last person in like the family line who has like features in terms of like her appearance, her eye shape that seems Native American at all.
Mhm.
I have just predominantly African phenotypic appearance, and so it's like I have the culture like in my family's lineage. It's something that like my grandmother and my mom like both is part of like their lives. But growing up, me and myself, my mom like didn't make it a big part of my narrative, my socialization. So it was discussed here and there, but it was never really a part of how they were raising me.
So how did they raise you?
As a African American male, and with the usual kind of, always like say yes sir, no sir, keep your hands in the steering wheel, and
Wow.
with like kind of
Yeah.
protective stuff. And obviously like Black culture as well, being exposed like the Black musicians, entertainers. And I mean, I think as I got a little bit older, like the sense of like what Black American culture is, compared, let's say, to white American culture, Hispanic culture, Asian culture, I saw more kind of similarity or blends, rare proximity in a way to the way in which Black culture forms in America relative to white culture.
Hmm. I don't think I've heard white and Black culture described as similar before.
They're more similar in the sense that white and Black Americans have like less of a strong like trace to like heritage cultures or backgrounds. White and Black Americans compared to white immigrants or Black immigrants are more likely to just kind of say American as a culture, as opposed to like something that's more ancestrally related.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I want to go back a little. You mentioned your brother.
Yeah, little brother of Tazwell.
What's his name?
He got the cool name Tazwell. I got
That
Jarryd. He
is
got
a cool
Tazwell. So
name.
yeah, yeah,
Jared's good too, but Tazwell, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that indicates.
yeah. Got
Um,
some swagger. Yeah.
yeah. Where did you all grow up?
The first 8 years of my life, my mom and dad, and then step parents, like for most of my adolescence. My little brother was with his biological mom most of the time while growing up, and with my dad as well, partially. We didn't actually hang out in person together for 10 years until like this past June. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So this summer was like kind of a big, like trying to reconnect between the two of us.
You grew up in Texas.
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
that like?
I mean, being from the South, I mean, you have like the swagger, the personality, the identity that's in you. It doesn't really go away. But as
Mm.
soon as I finished my PhD, I wanted to escape and just go out west.
You said escape, something I relate to as well. I'm from West Virginia. And I was like, yeah, there you go. There you go. And I was like, I'm out. I'm going to New York.
Yep. Yep.
In real, yes. So you're nodding, you're saying, yeah. And tell me about
We
that.
we we get it. We get it. Right.
We did it. We did it.
Man, it's so interesting too because man, I have like a lot of great friends who like still live in Texas, of course. And so whenever I go back, I feel that connection. But it's also the case that I want to have a good chance to really evolve my career, and there's a better chance doing that in California than in Texas.
Yeah.
So
Now, was that
I
the only reason you chose to escape, or was there more to it?
mean, that was kind of the primary driving force. Like I needed to be in a different cultural environment.
Okay.
And Texas versus California, they're both majority minority states, but California has a greater sense of inclusion to it. Whereas in Texas, you just have the demographic diversity in numbers, but it's like a salad bowl that never mixes. It's like the different kinds of salad are there, but it never mixes with itself. Whereas in California, there's actual kind of inclusion that feels more pluralistic.
Where in California are you right now?
So I've been in San Diego in my 10 years I've lived here. I had my 10-year anniversary this past June 1st.
Nice. Was there racism growing up where you were at?
I never experienced like a significant degree of explicit, overt like discrimination or racism.
Uh-huh.
It was always more of an implicit like sense of like relative differences in how things are being evaluated, or how things are being treated, judged, based on my performance or someone else who
Mm.
maybe my performance is better. I have a 4.0 GPA for my PhD, for instance. I was like, maybe my performance maybe was better, like in some ways, but maybe I'm still being judged more critically or like not being given the same kind of opportunity or something. Like just more of like the surrounding kind of social context.
Mm.
There's just always that kind of like aura of something is just uneven.
Yeah.
And so like, coming to California, it was just a better sense of, I mean, almost immediately, it just felt like it was a better environment. It felt like, I was meant to be here.
Yeah. That's how I felt when I arrived in New York off a Greyhound bus, which I don't recommend. But as soon as I got to Port Authority, I was like, all right,
Mm,
I can breathe. I can actually.
right, right.
Are your step parents, are they mixed as well?
My mom's second husband, he was mixed. I'm not 100% sure like what the mixture was. I mean, he was like predominantly African American. I mean, that was still the same.
Do you ever get pushback for identifying as mixed?
Never have. Never have.
Nice.
Yeah,
Good.
whenever I share it, it's always accepted.
Cool.
And I think it's probably because I don't like hone on it too much or stress it too much. I mean, I make sure it's acknowledged, but like I don't kind of, push beyond just the general introductory part of like who I am. So,
Yeah. What do you do? You're a doctor, you're a professor. Break it down. Tell me everything.
I teach social psychology primarily. My research is on romantic relationships and identity. I've expanded that in California, looking at identity in terms of interfaith households, religion, multiracial identity, multi-ethnic identity, and then obviously mixed identity. There's like an old picture of like my lab during the pandemic
Let me
on
see.
Zoom together.
Oh, wow.
UCSD 2020, 2021. Some have like mask on Zoom just for
I
fun.
see.
So in my lab, lab president, several have been multiracial themselves. Having those two presidents of my lab really kind of spurred on like helps the multiracial research grow because they had like more kind of a lived experience of going through it than I did.
Mm.
My Blasian president, she mentioned like how when she was going to high school around like Oceanside, she would be treated as only Asian. That people like only saw her as being Filipino, and like the black kids like wouldn't hang out with her or like spend time with her
Wow.
because like
Okay.
she wasn't like black enough. And like if she like tried to like claim some like wearing like braids in her hair or something like that, that she was appropriating black culture
Yeah.
because she doesn't know enough of the black experience to have the right to have her hair that way or something, but she's a black woman. And she goes to UC San Diego and she has the exact opposite experience where it's like you have a like majority like kind of Asian student population,
Mhm.
And like she was treated for the very first time in her life as only being black.
What it sounds like is that it wasn't her that was identifying, it was other people
Exactly.
identifying her. Is that something that most mixed race people go through, or does it depend?
So for those who are phenotypically ambiguous, they tend to
Ah,
experience that far more often than those who might look like just one or the other of their identities. For those who look like one or the other of their identities, they're more likely just to be assumed the one that they look like. So,
yeah.
like in my case, people assume that I'm black and that's it. I don't like really ever experience a sense of can identify one way or the other because it never even becomes an issue.
We talked before we had this interview, and there were certain things you wanted to touch on. And one of them was fluid identity. So, can
Yes.
you say
Yeah.
more about that and what that means and how you feel?
So the way that identity has usually been discussed, like from a monoracial perspective, is that someone's going to determine at some point in their life whether or not they are, Hispanic or that they're Asian. Multiracial research increasingly is making the arguments that having a fluid sense of self, or like maybe on the 2010 census you picked Hispanic, on like 2020 you put Asian, maybe in
Mhm.
2030 you'll put mixed. That fluid sense of identity that might change over a few years or different contexts, that doesn't represent someone who's incomplete. It doesn't mean that like you're not sure of yourself, that having a sense of fluidity in your identity actually is the final product. It doesn't mean you're
Hmm.
going through a phase that you have to like transition to become your true self. Like the fluid self is the final version.
So, what you're saying is you're choosing to identify how you want is the final version?
Exactly. Having such confidence and knowing yourself to such a great degree that you're okay identifying in different ways based on context, across like different, times of year, across different years, that kind of fluidity represents someone who knows themselves very well and they're comfortable in their own skin to identify however they want to.
This goes into what you were talking about, rights to identify. Is that right? Is it the
Exactly.
same concept?
Yeah. So the right to identify how one chooses based on how you feel about yourself, what you feel connected to, no matter what you might look like. One of the difficult things multiracials experience is a lot of them are more likely to maybe socialize themselves into a particular culture when they like reach adulthood. The multiracials, they have two parents of the same racial background. They're raised like based on like how that racial group might otherwise on average be raised.
Hmm.
So there's like no need to in adulthood usually have to research about your culture yourself. Whereas multiracials might, try and go to libraries, look up research, articles about their own history, watch TV documentaries about it to like learn more about who they are, visit the country on their own, go to restaurants,
Hmm.
cook the cuisine, try and learn how to cook the food at home themselves. So it's like they're basically doing a project of self-discovery in adulthood because their parents might have like not done it for them while growing up.
And I think that's something a lot of mixed people do and go through. A lot of people have coming of age, and I think mixed people have this coming of identity.
Right. Once someone reaches that point where they have enough self-socialization they've engaged in, then
Mm.
whatever someone else says about it, monoracials are more likely to say you have to be raised a certain way to identify that way. And multiracials are like, no, I've learned myself about my own culture. I'm fine identifying as
Ah,
who I am. It's like taking it back.
what do you have to say about misrepresentation?
It's the kind of being misidentified, being considered to be a group that you're not a part of. I mean, that's I think like the more common thing when people are like misjudged in terms of like their background. They also get misidentified sometimes if they are overlooked, if certain identities or aspects are overlooked by people. So like
Hmm.
someone who might be part white and that aspect of who they are is just completely like not even considered.
Hmm.
One of the things about those who are phenotypically ambiguous is they are increasingly used in like marketing and in business and advertising. If like majority of monoracial customers have like certain stereotypes or biases that become cognitively active, that might lead to the customer being, let's say, more standoffish, like not talking to that, let's say, sales rep, maybe like not staying that long in that store. If instead the customer facing person for that company is someone who's ambiguous, it's taking longer for them to figure out what the person is, that brings like more invitation to interact.
Often I have felt like I'm nearly a gateway to blackness. Like, oh, you're not,
Mm,
you're white and you have this black. So I'm okay with this, or I feel more comfortable with this. And I wonder if that's companies, now I'm thinking America, saying,
Right.
look, we're open, but don't worry, this person's very light. I wonder if this is to get people in and be like, oh yeah, I'm cool with this. I'm good.
They can have their diversity, and at the same time, it's diversity that is going to be maybe pleasing in a Eurocentric appearing way.
It's changed because when I was a little girl growing up, I didn't see anyone like me on TV aside from Sesame Street, where maybe Maria, okay.
Mm.
But other than that, like,
Like way back in the day.
yeah, I mean, well,
Right,
Maria's
yeah.
been on there for a minute. Um, Regardless, on commercials, uh, toys at being advertised, Barbies, white blonde hair, like I didn't see me. And I do very much more
It's increased. Yeah.
now, which I'm happy about, but at the same time, what we're talking about, the
The
motivation
selection,
behind it,
yeah, motivation of who's being selected as that diversifier.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that people have had a problem with mixed people playing monoracial Black people on television.
If someone themselves is part of that identity, I mean, we can easily just like, have the role just be about someone who might be maybe of a mixed background. They are still, a
Yeah,
person of that group. In terms of like the voiceover thing, I think I like shared maybe a year or two ago, a few animated shows like where they like changed the voice actress at a certain point, like during the series. And like it was a white voice actress performing a character who was black. So the idea of getting people in media to try and pretend to have a voice of a different racial
yeah.
background. I mean, I feel like that needs to be some discussion about that.
I remember going in for a voiceover and the people were saying, sound more urban, sound more Black. It was, we're hiring you because you were this. You need to sound more this. It's
So
not enough.
sound like you look. That's a really good point. Oh my
It was
God.
it
There's
was
some
not
research on
enough
that
that
too.
I was. This had
Yeah.
to come across in their eyes and minds, uh, what I sound like and what this person sounds like and how people are going to receive it.
There is actually research looking at if a company hires women of like different ethno-racial groups as like customer-facing employees, like in apparel-based stores, makeup, Sephora, some of the girls in the study in particular who are of Asian background, if their accent sounds like a general American accent, as opposed, let's say, to an Asian one, they're more likely to be criticized and or fired because like they're not performing what the company's desired diversifying role of having Asian employees. It,
Whoa.
yeah.
Well, I just wonder, like what you're saying, if these Asian people don't have the accent, like what
Right.
else are they looking for though?
So if they like don't speak, let's say, the heritage language as well, then it's like you're not bringing the advantage that we might hire you for to like interact with customers who might only speak Mandarin or Korean or Thai. They wouldn't expect the employees who are white to like know how to speak, let's say, Welsh or Greek. But the ones,
Exactly.
yeah, that's the difference. Yeah,
People of color are being asked more, even in the makeup industry,
right. Yeah,
than white people.
it's so amazing that difference, but it's
It's so amazing, unfortunate, and wrong. You teach a mixed race class, mixed race studies class, is that right?
I am the faculty advisor for the Mixed Student Union. I was advisor for Mixed Student Union at UCSD, and I created a Mixed Student Union here at CSUSM.
Why did you create it and what has come out of it for you?
The increase, I think, in the number of like mixed individuals over time, at the university, it became obvious like we need like a place for those sort of different backgrounds to like, see each other, meet each other, talk about their mixed experiences.
Nice. And what did you all do?
So we have like our usual discussion meetings where we like bring up like certain mixed topics or like someone like brings like beads or like ornaments from our culture. or like discussing, different ways of like doing funeral rites, like ofrendas for someone who might be Mexican, or like, putting out someone's favorite food, things like that.
Who gets to identify as multicultural, and does race play a part?
Hmm. So race would play a part in it. Multicultural, so that opens up a different level of analysis in terms
Mhm.
of what we can go into with it. Here's an example of a girl who is she was born in Pakistan as an orphan. She was found in a cardboard box by a Chinese couple. She was brought back to China to live with the couple, and she identifies herself as Chinese now in adulthood. So she's 100% of South Asian Indian descent
Mm.
as a Pakistani individual, but she was raised in China. And so she'd be someone who is monoracial and multicultural.
Huh. Got you. Wow. I
Yeah.
asked and you answered. I like it.
I mean, Marilyn Monroe actually is one of my favorite cases too.
What?
Marilyn Monroe, her grandmother like gave birth to Marilyn's mom in Mexico.
Okay.
And so Marilyn's mom like grows up like learning English, Spanish, and she's living in Mexico, Mexican culture and whatnot. Marilyn Monroe herself eventually is born in Los Angeles, but she identifies as a Mexican woman, as a Latina, like over the course of her life, because her mom is Mexican, because she was born in Mexico due to her grandma moving to Mexico. But her entire family's ancestry and heritage is 100% white, but she
Yes.
identifies as a Latina. That's multicultural once again. She could always say that she is, Mexican or Latina, given the fact that her mom was born in Mexico.
Well, my mind is blown.
Yeah.
I never knew that. Never.
Yeah.
Who gets to identify as mixed race? You've kind of answered this question.
I mean, the question of like, where is the cutoff? I think is something that's like still debated. For the US government, Native American heritage goes at least as far down to 1.56%. For other identities, it kind of matters like, who's doing the assessment of like what counts, right? It was like something like where competitions like be a part of a basketball tournament, someone like had to be a certain proportion of Asian. So all players must be part Asian. To be considered Asian, must be born and native from like one of these following countries. You must bring your birth certificate if you have a mixed Asian background that doesn't look Asian. So basically, various ways to like try and verify
Oh,
that the players in the tournament have some Asian proportion. Yeah.
what? Who is
Yeah.
deciding this? Are they all Asian? Like,
I
and who
mean, it's
decides who and who doesn't look Asian?
exactly. I mean, it's amazing like how this still goes on. This is 2019. Like
Yes,
this
I
term is it's
see
not
that.
even, yeah,
What you're showing me and telling me is there is some gatekeeping going on as far
absolutely.
as who gets to call themselves mixed or
Right.
monoracial. I might have done some gatekeeping as far as living a mixed race experience, and someone, this woman in particular, who found out at 35 that she has some down the line Mexican blood, and all of a sudden she has lived this mixed race experience. And I was like, wait a minute.
No, that's not the way. So I mean, someone who's approaching it like from an earnest point of view, who's like going to approach their identities with, the relevant integrity you want people to have, they're going to try and learn about the background first. Like they're not
Right.
gonna just gonna claim something because 23andMe says you have this in you. They're going to like learn about it, read about
Yes.
it. They're going to like taste the food, try and cook the food, read about important figures, visit the country if they can,
Mm,
learn about, let's say, the famous statues in a society. I mean, it's just basic stuff you do if you're actually part of a culture. You just can't claim it based on a DNA test. So like, oh, now I'm a Viking because
right.
23andMe.
Uh,
That's like using it for social reward as opposed, let's say, to actual real connection.
right. Exactly.
In terms of like what counts, for identifying with a group, for multiracials, are more likely to say effortful acquisition of cultural knowledge, even in adulthood, it's perfectly fine for identifying as a particular group. Monoracials, they also kind of say that by majority, but a lot of them also say you must be raised in the culture directly.
How do you feel about that?
I can definitely understand like why multiracials would say acquisition of the knowledge is all that's required because imagine like if you're multiracial and being raised by a single parent, you're not
Mm.
gonna have a chance to be raised in other culture anyway.
I wanted to talk to you about dating.
My dating record's 100% interracial.
Okay.
Like in high school, I mean, it was like mostly, white and Hispanic. And
Okay.
in college, it was like more mixed. Like my longest like term partner woman I wanted to marry. In fact, before I came to California, her mom from India, dad Brazil. So she was Latin Indian.
When you date different races, do you feel you're treated differently depending on who you're with?
I feel the difference when dating someone who's multiracial versus not. Both individuals have plenty of experience with intercultural interactions
Hmm.
because like if she's mixed or like if someone's lover is mixed, they're gonna have like grown up in a household like where mom and dad look different. If someone's not mixed, then there's less of the maybe inherent you grew up around just different cultures, in the first place. So like even like in a single parent household, someone who comes like from a mixed background, they have like more intercultural interaction even with that one parent.
Does race, ethnicity, culture play a part in who you choose as a partner?
It's never like mattered or played a part. I mean, it's purely about, shared interest, and obviously attraction,
Mm,
like similar, let's say, goals we have in life if we're both in higher education, academia, research, being a part of the community. As long as there's match compatibility on that, it doesn't like really matter like what the person's background is.
nice. There are so many mixed race people who find themselves in the role of both oppressed and oppressor, or
Mhm.
target and ally.
Right,
So
right.
this is I feel, unique position to be in. And do you think that helps or hinders to experience both?
I think in general it should be helpful. I
Mm,
think the only thing that can make it a hindrance is that if monoracial individuals who are like part of the group who might, be receptive of allies, if they feel that someone multiracial is ill-equipped to play the role of an ally, or ill-equipped, let's say, to be one of the ones receiving allyship, because they're also part of that group,
uh,
they might be less likely to welcome them with open arms, basically. My current lab president actually is Latino, Lizzie. So she's like part Hispanic, part white. She looks more phenotypically white. And one of the things that she's been criticized about even this past school year is that she doesn't have to like worry about the ICE raids because given what she looks like, no one's gonna like come after her. But her mom has darker skin tone as a Mexican woman, and so she is worried about her mom,
yeah,
right? There are like still concerns about what's going on, no matter like what the person might look like. She's still a part of that community.
I feel that. For me, I have a light privilege, I have a white privilege of walking by cops and not thinking I'm going to be targeted right away. With my black side of the family, yes.
There might be like less of a perceived risk that you would experience what they would experience.
Yeah.
It doesn't negate the fact that it is still part of your reality as well.
Yes. For me and for probably many mixed race people, I mean, I've benefited from white privilege and been exposed to racism in the same day.
Like once that ability to be a microphone, like on both sides, is like fully kind of received and accepted, I mean, that allows like for some amazing degrees of progress, and like different narratives to be heard and considered on certain difficult issues. The partner's appearance does impact how someone's perceived. So having a lighter skin tone partner makes someone themselves like seem like more lighter in terms of like maybe identity. Even like myself, like when I was dating the girl who was, Latin Indian,
Yeah.
I felt like I was treated like a lighter skin tone person. You were like
Yeah,
in the hallways
that's
holding
and
holding hands and stuff, and it's
yeah.
like I was seen as like less black, and like when I was
Yes.
by myself, it's like I was seen as blacker.
Uh-huh. When I started dating a white partner, didn't realize how many things did have to do with my race until I was in this white adjacent role. Early on, we were at the plaza and not there, outside of the plaza, and he needed to go to the bathroom. And he's like, I'm just going to go in there. And I was like, you can't just walk in there. That's crazy. I've tried. Boom, right through the door, no problem. They held the door for him. And I'm like, what? Um, and it was just that type of thing that I realized that different things are accessible
Right,
depending on
right,
who you're with and you are perceived differently. This doesn't change. My hair doesn't change. Nothing changes except who I'm with.
The way I was treated in terms of like being seen as lighter when I was with her versus not with her, I mean, I'll never forget that experience, especially.
Tell me more because you're remembering something I want to know.
I mean, it's just like how much more accepted, like how much people like, talk to you more casually because like she kind of like if I'm assumed to like be more aggressive, having let's say darker black skin
Mm.
and like this lighter skin tone females next to me, it's like she reduces the perception of my aggression. It's like I'm seen as safer because if this 5'3" woman, feels comfortable and safe with me, I must therefore be a safe person to be with. And so it just gives me some additional capital and social interactions. My email profile picture is always me like with female that I'm dating or something because if I'm like emailing someone like for business and there's a female next to me, it's like, oh, this female in his life is close to him, he must be a safe non-aggressive person. It just makes things easier.
Damn.
I mean, even like, having like a pink mouse, right? Because it's cute. So it might like, decrease the ideas of like, aggression. Wearing a pearl bracelet, right?
Yeah.
It's like less masculinity. It seems more feminine. Wearing, glasses, they are rimless because rims are kind of social, some like more of a solid to hard look. Rimless is like you have glasses on, they're rimless, like you must be a safe person, you're a nerd. So it's I think it's called nerd immunity, right? It's like
Oh
not herd immunity, but
God.
like nerd immunity. So all these like little things that just kind of add up to reduce, let's say, perception of like aggression or hostility that people might attribute to black or dark skin.
Mhm. I have received a different kind of perception since having my son. I've gotten assumptions that I'm the nanny or the babysitter. And
Bingo.
I mean,
Yep.
I didn't ex I didn't really I wasn't prepared for that.
That is a common experience of like mixed parents, having to
Yeah.
prove that they're actually the parent of their child. Like there are stories of like someone who like couldn't board like a certain airlines for a while because like they wanted to make sure like was a kidnapping taking place, that they actually were the parent of a child. One of the other findings my lab found
Mm.
in our line of research, also just a like picture of family and stuff. So that's my little brother on the bottom right,
Oh.
Taswell, and then mom and dad. So it's a finding we have associated like with friends. So each group has mostly friends of like their same identity, right? For multiracials, they tend to have like a somewhat equal proportion of friends that like reflect both of their identities.
What are some stereotypes that follow mixed race people?
One of the stereotypes that is that actually impacts dating patterns is what's called the multiracial dividend effect, in which monoracial people believe that if they date someone who's mixed, they're going to get the dividends of like the best stereotype components of their identities. So, for example, monoracial white individuals, white males in particular, are more open, let's say, to dating a girl who is like part Asian, part white, over
Mm.
a girl who is monoracial white, even. Same thing like for white females, like dating males who are like, part Asian, part white over a male who is monoracial white. The logic basically is for white girls who have, let's say, Asian boyfriends, that if we stereotype Asian males as being more feminine or less masculine than other groups, like given intersectionality of race and gender with Asian men, then his white side will make up for that, make him more masculine because he has, he's part white. And the fact that he's Asian means he's still going to like be smart in school, academia, and have, let's say, high paying job one day.
It's not like it's not conscious because you did this research, so they said,
Right.
oh yeah, this is why.
They won't like say explicitly that that's why they're picking it. It's more of like what do you think are the attributes that are more desirable in maybe someone, like what do you think they're really good at, and they tend to attach the romantic or attractive qualities to those beliefs, those stereotypes.
What are some stereotypes that people have that are absolutely not the case?
So mixed individuals are not these perfect hybrids. I mean, that's
Mm-mm.
one thing. The notion that like they don't know who they are, that they're like always a work in progress, completely inaccurate. One of the things that multiracial people are more likely to experience is the maybe lack of a sense of like there's a multiracial island somewhere of like mixed history of like 500 years ago, multiracial explorers like left, on the SS multiracial to explore on some voyage. Like there's like not a country that's like the mixed place country in the world. So I
Yeah.
mean, there is that absence when people like try and like ask AI to like kind of like make an image of them. AI is gonna like make them monoracial because like there's not like enough like human catalog data history for AI to kind of like imagine like a mixed person accurately all the time. And so like it will usually kind of like make a monoracial version of that person based on like what they tell the AI.
Bam.
Um, when you think back to 1,000 years in the past, 1,000 AD, who are like the mixed figures in history that, give you your sense of mixed heritage? Like
Mm.
that's one aspect that is kind of different for those who are mixed versus those who are monoracial.
I think people now are going to say they're mixed and be seen as mixed, whereas,
In the past, it might have been more difficult to.
yeah.
Among those who were of African descent, it was definitely more challenging historically. For other mixed groups, I mean, it was more or less accepted, like if they had like some kind of mixture. The one drop rule had a particularly negative effect on mixed, partially black people for a lot of
Mm.
American history. There have been like more mixed people over time, but all the ones who are part black are somewhat negated, like just treated as only being black. There always were interracial couples. It was just minorities marrying other minorities interracially. The only group that didn't have the right to marry interracially were white people.
Yes. I'm ashamed to say I never even thought of that. Yeah, Loving versus Virginia is specifically about white and black.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, white and Asian and white and Hispanic and white and Indian and
Yeah.
in Arizona at one point in time, it was treated like with such a stringent manner that if you were like half black, half white, you maybe couldn't marry anyone. And even like living in Virginia, if you think about it, if he was black and she was white, would it have been ruled the same way?
No, absolutely not. That is,
Yeah.
wow. You're right.
A white man, like, going to the courts for the right to marry a woman he loves versus a black man wanting to marry a white woman. I can't imagine that coming out the same way.
Never. Is multiracial two or more races or three or more?
So multiracial refers to like two or more races in
Okay.
general. I think the term biracial is what's used like when it might be white and black.
Yeah.
But there's like really not a good term for black and white or white and black multiracials at this point in time. I think one idea was like you're African, like you're African isn't rolled off the tongue that well.
No, it's not
But
as cool as
um,
Blade.
yeah, exactly. Blasian is like that's always a winner, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
Often because of slavery, there is mixed race lineage in the Black community. My dad is dark. My last name is Donahue. Like, I can go back and look and then be like, oh, yeah, slavery. Do you think there are more mixed race individuals in America that don't identify as mixed race?
I think that's still the group that's most likely to not identify as what they could.
And I also think because of that history, who would want to check that? If the lineage was due to slavery
Right,
and rape, it's like, why am I going to
right,
acknowledge this?
right. Yeah, definitely. So it's like trying to detach from it would definitely be the motivation.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. I wonder too if like people would take like if a black male who's like marrying someone white or Asian would take his wife's last name to like try and change his name from associated with enslavement. I mean
Mm.
that's so I mean even like last names can like impact outcomes in the job market, being hired, recommended salary and stuff.
When people meet me, they're like, you don't look like a Donahue. And I know exactly what they mean.
Right. Right.
And, but they're never expecting this.
My parents named me Jarryd because they wanted to give me the best chance of like getting hired. They thought that Shaq or LeBron might make it more difficult in like the labor market. So,
Shaq gets hired. Shaq will do it all.
right.
Shaq stays hired. But yes.
One of the things we kind of overlook sometimes is how much the war brides like did kind of change the narrative about interracial couples when they came to the United States.
Mhm.
Because all the soldiers who like want to like bring their Japanese or Korean, let's say, partners, wives, and like their multiracial kids to America, the military supported them doing so with the war bride tax, right? The bases themselves are like federal protected land. And they could
Yeah.
have an interracial marriage legally in Alabama between, let's say, a white person and a Japanese woman or Korean woman. Obviously, someone black can be with someone Asian interracially is two minorities, but like white soldiers could have, let's say, a non-white wife who was Asian and it's perfectly legal in the South before, let me be Virginia, right? White, like non-military people couldn't do the same thing. So it kind of like created like a difference of like rights and possibilities at that point in time. And then we have the multiracial adoptions taking place. That makes kids coming to the country. And I mean, so many kids coming like from Japan, from Korea, and eventually Vietnam in the 1980s, just making America more and more multiracial.
Tell me about that jacket behind you.
So this is my Native American travel jacket. I like tend to like wear this, it gets colder outside. It's always like here in the office with me in case I want to put it on sometimes. It's just like a way of like me just being able to express, in a passing manner, my identity. And no one's ever like bad an eye or anything about it. Never like hid that I'm part Native American. So it's like one of like the things I kind of use as like part of identifying that way at times. So it's like not like a big statement, but it is like like this is who I am as well.
I
So,
love it. All right, Dr. Jarryd.
mhm.
Anything else? Give it to me. Final thoughts, final messages.
um, I hope that everyone is multiracial can feel free to embrace who they are. Don't feel held back. Don't worry about proportions of identity and whatnot. If you feel like you're a part of something, you're part of a group, own that, claim that. That's who you are. Right. So be yourself.
Nice. This has been Mixed Messages. Thank you so much, Dr. Jarryd, for coming on. I've
Thank
been
you.
wanting you to come on for a while. Everybody, please leave your comments, leave your questions, ask me if you want to be a part of the show. I would love to have you. And I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.